Hi, my name is Father Joshua Johnson. I'm the pastor of St. Edmund Campion Catholic Church in Ordinariate Parish, just north of Greenville in Flat Rock, North Carolina. I'd like to talk to you today about how Mary, as an intercessor, can help us pray the Mass more fruitfully. It all starts with our baptism. In baptism, we are made prophet, priest, and king. And I like to focus on that priestly role, that baptismal priesthood that all the laity share. That the Second Vatican Council's document, Dogmatic Constitution on the Church, Lumen Gentium, talks about the role of the laity in the world. Hence the laity, dedicated as they are to Christ and anointed by the Holy Spirit, are marvelously called and prepared so that even richer fruits of the Spirit may be produced in them. For all their works, prayers, and apostolic undertakings, family and married life, daily work, relaxation of mind and body, if they are accomplished in the Spirit, indeed, even the hardships of life if patiently borne, all these become spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Where these spiritual sacrifices find their greatest efficacy is in the sacrifice of the Mass. The Eucharist is the source and summit of the Christian life, and our spiritual sacrifices find their source and summit in the sacrifice of the Mass. Again, Lumen Gentium tells us, in the celebration of the Eucharist, these may be most fittingly offered to the Father along with the body of the Lord. And so, worshiping everywhere by their holy actions, the laity consecrate the world itself to God, everywhere offering worship by the holiness of their lives. People go to Mass often thinking about they're going to get Jesus, and that's true. We do receive the fruit of that Eucharistic sacrifice in the Mass. But we also go to worship, we go to do our duty, and we go to offer our spiritual sacrifices. That is where we can be most powerful as intercessors, or as Lumen Gentium said, as leaven in the world. When we take what we do in our everyday life, we take it to the Mass, and as the bread and the wine are being offered at the offertory, we offer our spiritual sacrifice. This is known as the spiritual sacrifice of the laity in the Mass. Now, how does this relate to Mary? Well, first, whenever we talk about Mary, we have to talk about the Church, because she is an icon of the Church and mother of the Church. The Church is at her core is feminine. She is receptive to Christ's grace. She is open to his will. And Mary is a model for us in her femininity, in her motherhood, especially in the baptismal priesthood. She is a model for us of what it means to offer our entire lives to God. She offered herself, most especially in her fiat at the Annunciation. But that fiat reverberated through every moment of her life, through all the joys of her bearing Christ in her womb, through all the joys of her motherhood, of watching him grow up, but also through the sorrows, as Simeon predicted a sword would pierce her heart. When she stood by the beloved disciple at the cross, we see most especially her sorrowful sacrifice being offered in union with her son's sacrifice on the cross. So, as such, her receptive faith, her openness to God's will in every moment of her life, accepting both the joys, the sorrows, offering her work, offering her everyday life, and offering those most difficult moments of her life, we see that she is a model for us in our spiritual sacrifice. We also see that she is a model for us in receiving Holy Communion, as she received Christ into her soul at the Annunciation, so we too can ask for her intercession and receiving Christ into our bodies in Holy Communion. Her role is unique and unrepeatable. By her Immaculate Conception, she was able to offer a perfect spiritual sacrifice in union with her Son to God the Father in the Holy Spirit. And that is why in the life of every Christian, she has a unique and unrepeatable role. She is our mother, and not just any mother, but the perfect mother. She intercedes for us. with her perfect spiritual sacrifice, she can take our often imperfect sacrifices and take them into her immaculate heart and offer them in union with her Son to God the Father. And this reaches its pinnacle in the Mass. St. Louis de Montfort talked about total consecration to Mary and gave us a way by which we could consecrate ourselves to Mary so that our spiritual sacrifices, our everyday works, our joys, our sorrows, our prayers, our thanksgivings, all those can be offered to Jesus through Mary, through her immaculate heart. She takes our sacrifice. Mary's offering at the cross was more excellent than any other because it was completely open to the great love of her Son in its most glorious expression on the cross. Even our most sincerely offered spiritual sacrifices are not fully open to all the love the Lord offers, and as a result, much of his grace is squandered or ignored. In this vein, St. Louis de Montfort reminds the Christian, trust not the gold of your charity, the silver of your purity, the waters of heavenly graces, nor the wines of your merits and virtues, to a torn sack, an old and broken coffer, a spoilt and corrupted vessel, like yourselves. Making one's offering through Mary, the faithful will take fuller advantage of her offering and become more receptive to God's will. In the Holy Mass, then, in the offertory, in the Eucharistic sacrifice, when we have the greatest opportunity to stand at the foot of the cross, we stand there not alone, but with Mary and all the saints. And Mary is there not only to be a model for how we can offer ourselves as a spiritual sacrifice, to be open to God's will and to offer that in union with his sacrifice on the cross, she is also there as a mediatrix. She's also there to intercede for us. In its closing chapter on the Church, Lumen Gentium describes Mary and her intercession. Therefore, the Blessed Virgin is invoked in the Church under the titles of Advocate, Helper, Benefactress, and Mediatrix. One of the traditional prayers that a priest offers before the celebration of Holy Mass is a prayer to Mary, asking her to stand by the priest, who is a sinner, and to help us offer a more acceptable, more perfect sacrifice through her intercession. The laity can do this too in their spiritual sacrifice that they offer at the Mass by asking Mary to take their spiritual sacrifices and offer them with her Son to God the Father in the sacrifice of the Mass. In this way, it takes the spirituality of St. Louis de Montfort, this total consecration to Mary, and at the Mass, this total consecration to Mary, this offering these spiritual sacrifices to Jesus through Mary, reaches its pinnacle, because all the saints, and especially our Blessed Mother, are present in the sacrifice of the Mass. I'd like to close then with this prayer from the St. Gregory Prayer Book, the devotional prayer book of the Ordinariate. It is a prayer to the Blessed Virgin Mary before Mass. O Mother of pity and mercy, most Blessed Virgin Mary, I, a miserable and unworthy sinner, flee unto thee with all my heart and with all my affection. I beseech thee of thy mercy, that like as thou didst stand by thy well-beloved Son when he hung upon the cross, so thou wouldest graciously vouchsafe to stand by me, a miserable sinner, and all who hear, and in all thy holy church, this day do offer and receive the body and blood of thy Son, that aided by thy gracious prayers, we may worthily approach this mighty sacrament.